Welcome to Roll to Hit Gaming Monthly. Today we'll take a look back at June 2017.
We'll also cover the gaming do's and don'ts. That's right, gamer etiquette.
And a big month for our Shelf of Shame, 16 titles off the list. For Roll to Hit Gaming, I'm Chip.
I'm Joe.
I'm Lucas. Let's take a look back.
So looking back at June, what we did for the channel was our favorite 15 card games.
I also put up a two-part series on Fox and Ox Creations' Bureaunauts. A first look to go in depth with the rules and stuff, and then a review to give you our thoughts on it. And this is basically a very tongue-in-cheek space exploration, fighting space jellies, and you're trying to move up the corporate ladder. In the review, I said it's The Office meets Galaxy Quest, and I really think that comes across as you play it.
And I published two reviews this month of Clank, the deck building adventure, and Role Player, the game about creating the best role-playing character that dice can make. This month was a big month for plays, and my game of the month is going to be Istanbul. It's a game about collecting as many gems as you can get your hands on while moving around a board that you can basically create yourself. And it's a really fun worker movement game with some resource manipulation, resource management. Very good game.
And the drunk uncle.
Istanbul. And your drunk uncle that always ends up in jail.
Yeah, you know, when we started that one, for about the first 20 minutes, I just was not digging it at all. And then somewhere along the way, it clicked what I was supposed to be doing. And I was like, okay, I got it, right? So, yeah, that turned out to be a really good one.
Well, by the time it clicked for me, I had to chase after him because he was, boom, doing really well with it. So,
Joe, what about you?
Mine was Trajan. It's a Stefan Feld game. Basically, it's a Euro strategy game. It's set in ancient Rome. Players are trying to influence or increase their influence and power through the different political, military, trading, and so they use this Mancala mechanic in order for you to pick your action for your turn. So it's really nifty, really cool. But during the whole thing, you have to keep your people happy too. Sometimes they want food, sometimes they want gladiator games. So you have to keep that in mind. You're never going to know what they're going to ask for while you're gathering your resources. So it's very thinky, very crunchy, and that's Trajan.
Yeah, this game makes my head hurt in a good way. There's just so much to do, and we played. I had a really good time. I want to try now just to forget about the people altogether and just see how I do. I just want to try to bull rush the victory points to see what happens. But if you don't take care of those people, man, it will come back and bite you pretty harshly.
Speaking of so much to do, my game of the month for June is Yokohama. And in this one, you are trading in various goods at the harbor, and you set out different tiles, which are the locations in the city of Yokohama, and then you've got to move your president around to do actions, and you send out your agents to get influence. But the trick is you can only move your president through your string of agents. So you have to kind of plan, I want my president to go there next turn, so I've got to have guys that lead up to that so they can move through, and you get a greater benefit from using that location the more presence you have there, and you can build trading houses and such to increase your holdings there. When I first saw it out on the table, it's one of those games that went, oh my God, that's going to be terrible, because there was so much stuff, but everything works together and makes sense.
Okay.
And it's another one of those, get resources, convert them into something else, and I absolutely love that. I think Yokohama is a masterpiece. It was just a fantastic game. So that was my game of the month, Yokohama.
It was a ton of fun. I thought I was doing really, really well. There are two other sections of it to where you're gaining technology so that when you're landing on these places, you get better rewards from it. And there's also faith and donating to the church, so to speak. And that's another way to gain victory points. What I discovered was if you ignore one of those sections, whew, nosedives.
No.
This man just boom right past me near the end.
Well, I figured out how to make my exports more valuable and noticed that you were ignoring 20-something points sitting on the board, right? So I just kept hammering that.
I was focusing on other things.
Smoked her.
He did.
Those are our games of the month.
So June was our best month yet for our 2017 Shelf of Shame Challenge. We made it a goal not to increase the list, which didn't happen. We added 2 titles this month, Trajan and Sid Meier's Civilization, the board game. We played Trajan, and Sid Meier was a trade, so we're kind of lightening up on the punishment for breaking the rule for June. But we played 16 different games. And the first one that I want to talk about here is Burano. This game caught my eye last year at BGG Con because it's got big, meaty, colorful blocks. And I just, every time I came back by that thing, I wanted to stop and take a look at it. And you're basically, the blocks represent the houses, the multicolored houses in the city of Burano, And at the beginning of each turn, you're going to build yourself a little pyramid that's got, what would be 9 plus, 13 or so cubes. And as you play the cubes off of it, that's going to expose more cubes that can be played, right? So you're directly affecting what you can do. And you think at the beginning of your turn, I'll just throw them on there, but that may not line up with how you want to do. You really got to plan that out. And that step is where the puzzle here is, because the rest of it is just, building your houses in the city and then adding roofs, and you'll score victory points based on the type of roof you add. And then there's a whole set collection deal with fishing. And then there's a factory bit where I guess Burano is also known for making lace. And that was the one thing I wasn't sure about. I loved everything else, but I'm not sure I figured out the point of the lace making factory and sending workers there. So that's the only part I'm a little leery about. I'm not happy that the game doesn't facilitate colorblind people in any way, because the one that we have is colorblind in this particular way, where these pastelish colors are difficult for him, and I think he'd really like it, but I don't know that Chip's going to get an opportunity to really play that. But nothing is hidden, right? So I'm more than willing to say yes, that's pink. No big deal, right? But the lace making and then the lack of regard for color is the only disappointing parts about it.
Yeah, the so-called pink cubes are a little bit difficult. It's just one of those things. Like you said, it's all public information, so I can always ask and just kind of keep them in a separate pile.
I think my favorite part of that entire game was the fishing part.
Yeah, that's kind of awesome.
Because you're collecting sets of either like crab or shrimp or whatever, and you have to go to port and gather victory points from that. So I really enjoyed that piece of it.
I like this idea that you talked about the pyramid, and as you build, you're kind of unlocking new stuff.
Actions,
that seems like a really interesting mechanic. It's me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, so for me, I actually had a tie for my game of the month. This is the other one, and it's very close in the top of my list, and that's The Godfather: A New Dawn. It's a dice game with the Godfather theme, and don't let the dice game shy you away. It's a really fun, light and fast game.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit beefier than what I would consider a filler game.
It's probably in that 45-minute range.
Yeah, but it's really fun, really easy to play, and the theme actually kind of comes through for me. I got this sense that I was making offers to the Godfather, yet to give him, make offers of dice, and the Godfather can accept or decline your offer and stuff. And then your worker placing out to area control, I guess, is more the mechanic to try to take over the city and stuff. But it was just a really fun time for me. I want to play it again. So if you're not a fan of the random dice stuff, it might not be your bag, but it's a really fun game. It's great to play with a bunch of friends.
Well, as we played it on, I found out that I really didn't like being the Don. I wanted to be able to go.
It restricts you a lot.
Yeah, you can't go to Vegas. You can't work the casino.
Yeah.
But you get the benefit of them offering you dice.
Yeah.
But then you miss out on this other piece because you're the top dog. So I thought that was really interesting, the way they balanced that.
Yep.
So that was mine, Joe. What about you?
Just to reiterate, the 3 games of the month that we gave you, Trajan and all that, those also come from the Shelf of Shame as well. But the one that I wanted to focus on right now is called Robber Knights. This was a freebie, actually, from BGG Con that we got a couple of years ago. When I played it, it reminded me a lot of Fjords. Because it's tile placement, and you have to place, force with force and such like that, and it has, the tiles have to match up, but you're gathering points based on, like a forest is 2 points, and a castle was more than that, but you have to claim it, right? So you may be able to put down a tile, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to own it by the end of the game, and you have to, I don't know what the mechanic is where you take your discs and you have to place one right after another.
Okay.
Right. So it was interesting. I think it's definitely a short game, so it's definitely filler, but that is Robber Knights.
Okay.
Yeah, it fits into that Fjords category, which is not something that's going to hold my interest. It was okay, but there's not a lot there. My next one is City Council from Golden Egg Games and designer Elad Goldstein. And I like a few of his games. And then this one, it's semi-cooperative, which is kind of a red flag for me sometimes, But the idea here is you're all on the city council of this particular city, and you're doing things to grow the city, and you're trying to control crime and get more workers into your city and not have workers leave because they're disenchanted or whatever. But at the same time, there's a deck of cards, and they're basically lobbyists, and you are in a group's pocket, and you're trying to accomplish certain things to gain bonus victory points by making these lobbyists happy. And you may need to, sell the park because these are, oil baron lobbyists or whatever, and they don't care about having beautifications. They want that land to drill on, right? So you've got to try to figure out how to convince the other players during the city council meeting to vote for your agenda to go through, because you're each going to make a proposal of what you're going to do that turn, and then everybody votes, and you can't vote on your own. So you've got to get their support to make your things come through. And if they've got the environmentalist in their pocket, they're probably not going to vote for you to tear that park down. An interesting dynamic, but the really interesting part to me, we haven't had an opportunity to play this yet, is it came with a disaster deck that turns it into a full co-op and almost a solo game, really. One person could play all the roles, and play it by themselves, where you're trying to gain a number of points, and all the while each turn flipping over a card, and meteor strike happens, or zombies invade, or an alien invasion or something. You're working cooperatively to try to gain a certain number of victory points before all of these terrible things that are going to happen just devastate your city. Like I said, we haven't played that variant yet, but I'm really excited for it. But I really liked just the base game, because I haven't played a game like that on a tabletop before. It had a real SimCity type feel. You literally sent your workers to the factory to produce X, or you sent crime cubes through the prison to try to rehabilitate them, or to church to try to rehabilitate them. Really neat idea, City Council.
Now you got me. My interest is piqued.
Yeah.
Does it have a rapture card?
I don't think so, but I didn't thumb through and look at every one, because I looked at a couple and I was like, yeah, let's let this be a little bit of a surprise.
It sounds like the disasters can come down on you.
Well, what's really cool too is, like, when you're building all this stuff, you're generating pollution. You have to generate energy in order to activate the the buildings that you've just built, or the grids, like the sections of the city. So you could get something really nifty, but then you can't power it.
Right.
So it was really cool. It was a really cool game. I liked it a lot.
Very cool. Well, we come to a game that we experienced, and I had really high hopes for this game. I had heard a lot about it. A lot of people speak highly of it, and the theme interested me. I was very excited about bootleggers. It just fell pretty flat for me, and I really didn't like it, and I don't think Lucas did either. I think Jolynn may have enjoyed it, but the the indefensible take that of the game just really got under my skin, and I wanted it to be more focused on getting your liquor to the store and making your money. And really and truly, this game is about half and half, and the other half is you got to find a way to bring your opponents down. So I didn't dig it at all. And
yeah, the card pools. I've thought a lot about this one. If you watched last month, you know there was a game that Lucas hated that he was going to talk about next month. This was it. And I thought a lot about this game because the theme is amazing.
Yeah.
But everything else about it, there is no way to mitigate the take that. And the card pools are gigantic, so there's no way to mitigate the just unbelievable random that exists in this game. So, if you have no problem with take that or a completely random game because your decisions in this game do not matter, you will love Bootleggers. For everybody else that has some sanity, this game is garbage. Don't play it. Don't let it in your house. I still feel the grease from the release agent that was still on the miniatures. They use so much of it. I mean, paper money, garbage components. It's just absolutely the worst possible game for somebody like me.
It wasn't that bad.
Yes, it was.
It wasn't that great, but it wasn't that bad. The way that you would be able to mitigate a little bit of that is when you're at the beginning, you draft cards on to put to use, and if you want that card or you don't want it used against you, grab it, because if you leave it, it kind of forces the other players. This is what's left. Which one you going to pick? So, yes, there is a lot of take that. I was kind of hoping for a lot of take that. I was hoping more for a, Bonnie and Clyde type thing, to where you're dodging.
Collect my resources to make my booze and have a little bit of area control.
And then dodging the cops too, But it's like I said, it's not a great game. It wasn't that bad.
Garbage.
Well, to take us out of Bootleggers.
Please.
Okay. This next game is my second favorite of this month. I really loved it, and it's called Fresco. It's by Queen Games. Basically, you're an artist, and you have been hired to paint a fresco in a Renaissance church. So you have to decide, when you're going to get up in the morning, because the earlier you wake up, the crankier your workers are, but you get first dibs on the supplies, right? So you have to go and buy your paints, and then you have to spend some of your workers to mix your paints. Because when you go to paint on the fresco, you need these combinations of paints in order to reveal that tile. And that's your victory points. And if you get so many of a certain color, then you can get more victory points or more money. And if you need a side job for money to buy more paints, well, then you can paint portraits. And it's just really cool. It's very in-depth, and they made a lot of expansions for it. I haven't got to play these yet, but I've seen them. I have one where you do stained glass, and there's a wishing well or the bishop's favor. There's so many things that they've added to it, but it doesn't take away from the main part of the game. And this is just a fantastic game. I highly recommend this one.
Yeah, the neat part about the way they expanded is those 10 or so expansions are all modular.
Yeah.
So you could say, for this game, we're going to use the wishing well and the stained glass and the bishop's favor. And then the next game, you could say, well, we're going to use these three, and so you could create a different experience every time, or you could just throw it all in there and do this.
That'd be a lot.
Do this, crazy, massive table occupying game. I really like the modular expansion piece. It enables you to say, that was a neat idea, that wasn't, so I'll use that and not that one. But yeah, like I've said before, I enjoy getting a resource, converting it, and using it, and this is exactly that, because you can only get primary colors, and then you've got to mix to get other colors. Great design.
It's a really pretty game.
It is too,
pretty.
Yeah, looks great on the table. My next one is Hyperborea, and I bought this a few years ago based solely on the box cover, which is not typically something I do, but it had that fantasy theme and it looked really cool, so I picked it up. Opening the box, I found a bunch of hexes, which is a little for me, not so much on that, But the basic idea here is it's a bag builder, and you get these different colored blocks into your bag, and you pull so many, and then based on what you pull, you can activate certain special abilities. And the more technologies you get, or the more guys you put out, the more things that you can do. It was really interesting, and I had a good time playing it. But it's really sandboxy, you know, because you can do these actions and activate these things in any order, and it can get to the point where you know, your 3 or 4 blocks you have really turn into a lot of things because this generated additional blocks here, you know, and it's a lot to keep track of. I had fun playing it, but that look, you know, that sandboxiness was a little for me. I'd like to try it again. We played it 2 players. I'd like to try it at a bigger player count to see how that game unfolds before I make a decision. But that was Hyperborea.
That one, it wasn't as exciting for me. Based solely on the cover art, it looked amazing. But when you actually got into it and started playing it, it was very abstract.
Okay.
So I really couldn't get into a theme with it. It was just, you know, a cue pusher, really, for me. But it wasn't really a Euro game either. So it disconnected on me, almost to the point to where really the theme could have been anything, and it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, so you don't feel much of a theme while you're playing
so that was a disappointment for me.
I still want to try it. The box looks interesting. So, so better than bootleggers. But another freebie that we got last year at BGG-Con was a little small game from Crash called Paradise Fallen, the card game. And in this game, you lay out 9 what look like Hawaiian islands to me. In fact, I think they are the Hawaiian Islands. I think they're Hawaiian Islands, yeah. And apparently some unnamed disaster or unnamed issue has come up, and now you have to go around looking for different supplies and to try to explore these islands for an unknown reason as well. I mean, it wasn't a terrible game. It just, there wasn't a lot of game there for me. And it was just kind of repetitive. And then, like you made the comment, you got into this, there's long stretches of I just can't do anything because I didn't draw the right card, right?
So you'd miss your entire turn because, can't do nothing this turn either.
Yeah.
Nope.
So, I mean, it's a small game. It's portable. I guess those are pros to it if that's what you're looking for. But the gameplay there really wasn't much there for me. And I didn't really care for it.
So my next one is Ghost Stories. This is one that I was really excited about. I kept hearing good things about it. It looked interesting, and it's colorful and vibrant. It's by Repros Productions, and so I wanted it for the longest time, and I finally got it. Basically, you're a super powerful monk, and you are protecting this village. There's 9 locations within the village, and each one has its own little special power that it gives you if you land on it. You can choose to either do that at the village location or fight a demon that's coming from the pits of hell in order to destroy the village. If the demons succeed in flipping over or destroying 3 separate tiles within, or basically 1/3 of the village, then you lose. It's an extremely hard game because they'll start steamrolling. Those ghosts will. And it gets harder and harder, and they each have different powers, so you know they may bum rush you while the other ones just kind of sit back and then generate other ghosts around you. So it was really good. I really enjoyed it, and that's Ghost Stories.
Now I've heard it's very difficult.
It is.
Is it Pandemic difficult, or is it Ignacie's Robinson Crusoe difficult?
So let me try to answer that one. Visually, the game is gorgeous, but the theme did absolutely nothing for me. And Robinson Crusoe beats you with that mean stick over and over and over again, and you're having a great time the whole time.
Okay,
This game hits you in the face with that mean stick repeatedly, and you curse it every time it hits you.
Nice.
You know, it's one of the few times where I'm like, do we really have to keep playing this? I mean, it just... I don't know what I didn't like about it, but I just didn't like it.
Really?
You know, and it just... I don't know, it kept unmercifully kicking me and beating me.
Just
and,
hard for hard's sake?
Yeah, it's kind of what it felt like, you know. And then, you know, a little bit of, I don't know, oh, that happened. There's nothing I can do about that, you know. I don't know. I got really frustrated playing this one. And I can't particularly articulate why I just did not enjoy that game.
He beat the heck out of us, and we lost. And I'm like, okay, let's play again. And he's like, really?
Oh man.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, well,
yeah.
you win some, you lose some.
Right. So from ridiculously hard to perhaps too easy, my next one is Toria. And we picked this game up last fall sometime. And it's got a really neat theme. You're bopping around the kingdom, gathering resources up to try to win the favor of the prince or princess. And we played it, and it was fun. It was a decent time. It's incredibly light, and I think it's a game that is really going to shine with children, and maybe in particular, teenage girls, I think, are really going to get into this theme. And it's about that weight where it would be a great intro game for that kind of audience. So not necessarily for me, but it's a good game. It's a fun game. I just wish there was a whole lot more there, but I think its target audience is really going to enjoy Toria.
Oh, neat. Yeah. You gave this to me to take to the kids, so we'll have to play through it. Well, mine final one for me is going to be a game I did exceedingly well at, but come to find out I had the board that is known in the circles of playing Castles of Burgundy as being the high scoring board. So this game was really neat. It's another Stefan Feld, and you guys got on the Stefan Feld kick with Trajan and didn't y'all play another one?
Oracle of Delphi.
Oracle of Delphi.
Yep.
And so we brought this one out. We had picked this up, I think, in a trade long ago, and it's on the shelf, so we played it. And I really enjoyed it. You guys did a 2-player version beforehand, and then we played a 4-player game.
Yep.
The 4-player game kind of stretched out a little bit with downtime, and I completely ran away with points. But again, I had apparently board 8 is an infamous board with Castles of Burgundy as the high scoring board, and I can see why the arrangement of the starting position really favors making big moves right off the bat and scoring a lot of points. So I kind of got 40 points ahead in the first turn, and I sort of just stayed there, and I finished with a lot of points. But I had a great time playing it. I really like how the game is set up. It seems to me that Stefan Feld as a designer puts a lot of thought into how the game mechanics work and how things flow. You can really tell that. And this one, I think, is a shining example. Now, I've heard people talk about one guy in particular said that Castles is his favorite 2-player game of all time.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the case because we did notice a little bit of downtime. I'd like to play it with 3, and I'd like to play it without board 8 anywhere near us, just to see what that does. But I had a great time playing it. I think it's a really good game.
It was. I really did enjoy it. The fact that you're, the dice themselves, when you roll them, it allows you to either, place a tile, but it has to match, the 6-on-6 and stuff. So it was very, almost mathy the way he did it, but it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I would put this game as, in my top list of, favorite 2-player games. As a 2-player experience, I really, really liked it. As a 4-player experience, discounting, the runaway points thing, just the downtime became crippling for me. I did not enjoy it at 4. I'd like to try it at 3 to see how it works there, but, one of the interesting things about Feld games is he seems to want to put random in the game, but then he's got to give you a way to mitigate it because he can't just let that sit. And that's neat. And I think if you like Felds and you like and you're in a situation where you play a lot of 2-player games, I would strongly suggest trying out this game.
Personally, I think that I have a feeling it's gonna be best at 3 because 2, it's not as tight as I'd like it to be. 4 is
you keep saying that, but
hard.
it adds exactly the same amount of stuff for each additional player.
Mathematically,
it's identical.
Mathematically, it's identical, but just to me, I think it'd probably be very comfortable at 3.
Yeah.
All right.
Is this one me?
This one's you.
Okay. So the last one I have for you is one that I was really excited about, and it is Shadows over Camelot, the card game. Now, we've played the board game before, and we all love it, absolutely love it. The card game is really cool because it's from Days of Wonder. So, you know, the art was fantastic. And you're basically, you're flipping over cards. And then as you go through the deck, if it's Merlin or Mordred or Morgana, they tend to meddle. They mess with you, right? The whole purpose is if you decide, okay, there's been 3 cards that I know of that's the Dragon Quest. You have, and they're all numbered like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you get 3 cards in there. Okay, is what's there enough for me to be successful on the quest? Because if you choose too soon, then you fail the quest because you didn't have enough rumors, you didn't have enough information. If you wait too long, you fail the quest because you let evil linger, right? So there's this small window of, you got to get it between like, I don't know, 9 and 13, right?
Yeah.
So when you decide you're going to go on a quest, you take them all out and you count up the 5 of the dragon, the 4 of the dragon, the 3 of the dragon. Morgana did something which added or subtracted, you know, and if your number hits just right, then you get white swords. If you fail, then here comes the black swords. So it integrated the board game in a fast and quick little card game. It was good. It was pretty good. It doesn't replace the board game in any way, but it wasn't bad.
No trader.
Yeah.
Oh, it does?
That was actually the interesting part about it. You know, Shadows over Camelot is one of my favorite games and probably always will be. She just heaped a whole lot of praise on something that is just a heap, in my opinion. I didn't care for it.
Really?
It's a little memory thing, you know, and you're like, well, you know, how many of those are in there? Oh, but 2 of those cards look exactly the same, and I kept getting that, you know, wrong because they were both blue, right? You know, so my brain's going, all right, there's 3 blue ones, and oh, no, there's not 3 blue ones. There's 1 blue one and 1 sort of blue one.
Excalibur and the Saxons have a blue background.
Now, being so easy to mess up and fail a quest, it's incredibly fun to be the trader.
Okay.
That was the only redeeming quality.
Okay.
You know, being the trader was a whole lot easier because
How do you become the trader?
Well, you're dealt a card at the beginning of the game.
you know,
either are or
okay.
you aren't.
I
And
got
then one of the events that comes up, it also had way too many of the little event things.
They meddle a lot.
One of the events that came up could switch you. Right.
Okay.
So, yeah, I didn't care for it. It besmirched the good name of Shadows over Camelot, but I did have a little bit of fun for the half a game I was a trader.
Well, but it does sound interesting that it kind of kept to the theme of the game.
It did.
Or the overall play of the game, instead of trying to just take the theme and kind of, you know, take the window dressing and then go off in a different direction.
Right. I mean, when you choose your quest, you're either going after the Grail.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it had the picks the Saxons, you know, but all it is flipping cards and trying to remember, okay,
Flipping
did I have
cards in
just
memory,
enough?
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
All
I
right.
enjoyed it.
Well, there it is. A 16. Oh, no, you got one more.
I have
Yes.
one more. Hold on.
That's only
Hold
15.
on. Hold on. That's 15. My last one and the last one here is Caverna the Cave Farmers. Chip had a negative experience with Agricola years ago and didn't enjoy it. And, you know, this is a successor to that. So for that reason and the fact that if you look at it on a table, it looks incredibly complicated, we left this game alone for years and years and years. And, you know, something got into me and I just decided I wanted to try this game. So I picked it up and, you know, I like worker placement games, and this is a fantastic worker placement game. It looks far more complicated than it is, you know, and the needing to feed your people thing is there, but it's not just a constant beat from the mean stick, you know. And the neat thing was, you know, again, you know, take resources, convert them, and use them. I did pig farming, you know, and there were tiles you could get to, you know, use your pigs to make various goods and gain extra points. I had a great time playing Caverna the Cave Farmers. We stayed away from this one for way too long for no reason. Fun game.
I want to play. My troubles with Agricola were I could not grok the rule book, and I could not understand setup because there are boards that you play if you have a certain number of players, or there's an introduction game if you've never played before. What I needed with Agricola, and probably what I need with Caverna, is I need somebody that knows how to set it up and can sit me down and walk me through it. Because, I mean, you know, I get worker placement, I get action selection, I get all of that, that's fine. I just need them to show me, here's the flow of the game. And
Yeah, one of the things
everybody loves the game,
Right,
so it's got to
right.
be a great game.
One of the things that's misleading about it with those boards is they just hold cards.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You'll deal out as you go along what are essentially additional worker placement spaces, and the board really just holds those, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's visually more complicated than it is. You'll like that one.
It looks cool.
Lastly, on this Shelf of Shame here, right now, and this number is going to change because Eric Lang's Godfather is coming out. But right now, we've played 78 games through May, and we only have 76 left.
Yes.
So for the moment, we have
Over halfway.
surpassed the halfway mark.
For now. Haven't been to BGG Con yet.
And that's our Shelf of Shame update for June 2017. For our June discussion topic, we decided on the do's and don'ts of board gaming and gamer etiquette in particular. We do most of our gaming here at the Roll to Hit Gaming Studios. We play it at BGG Con and stuff like that, but most of our gaming is with our group. So some of these we've experienced, and some of them we've just either heard about or seen, and we basically wanted to point it out, what we thought was bad behavior, and things that we thought were good behavior. And after talking about some not so great games, I'm a little feisty, so I'm going to start with bad.
Okay.
So, Joe, do you have an example of your don'ts or your bad behaviors? Chip called them pet peeves the other day when we were talking about it. Something that fits that category.
I call it bad form.
Bad form.
Bad
Okay.
form.
All right.
One of the things that really gets my goat is a no-show, or after everyone's gathered, we have someone that bows out. Calls in and says, I can't make it, which I understand. Things come up. We all have families and such. But we're only able to get together, one night a week, basically, because we all work. So when you're really looking forward to sitting down, relaxing, and playing a game, you've already waited like an hour for them to get here, and they aren't able to. It's a little aggravating for me. So, bad form. Is having to cancel on
Yeah,
me.
that doesn't bother me as bad because, like you said, it's one of those life happens deals.
Right. It's more irritating, not necessarily that they did it, but that it happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I've got one on here. So we have one of our gamers, and I wrote down chaos with your pieces. And I try to keep like an orderly area, so I can try to figure out what's going on, right? Okay, I got my wood over here and it's got to go through my wood chopper and all this stuff, right? And then I'll look over here, it's always to my right. So if you're watching this video, you know who you are. And there's just a pile of pieces and cards, and they're sideways, and some of them are up and some of them are upside down. And then they'll be like, okay, I'm going to take my turn, and what just happened there, The little OCD man in my brain just loses his stack when I look over there and see just the chaos of the pieces, right? So
don't be messy.
Organize your space a little bit. Chip.
I'm a board game addict. Okay, I admit it. I'm a board game addict, and just like hardcore junkies, there is doing the thing that you're a junkie of, getting the fix, but there is the ritual, of the setup, and of the organization. And yes, so I can definitely, I'm on board with you. And I need all my little pieces in a row. They need to be where they're at. And if you're not doing your drug right, if you're not being the junkie that you need to be, then you're on my bad side. This is in no particular order, but one of the things is they suck the fun when either they're losing, or they don't understand how to play the game, or they don't like the theme of the game, or whatever, and so they just have to totally drop everything. All the fun of everybody else has to be brought down because they're not having a good session. It's like, come on, man. I mean, it's one game, and it happens to the best of us, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
one of my big pet peeves are the fun suckers, as they call them.
Right. So this doesn't really play into that, but one that's kind of linked to that is the vendetta guy, right? You know, whether they're losing or not, they tend to do this, right? You take an action, you know, and some of these board games are cooperative, and we are meant to sit around in a circle and braid each other's hair and sing Kumbaya. Most of them aren't, and there can only be a single winner. And you take an action, expanding your holdings or moving your army or whatever it is into their space, right? Or sometimes you pick one of their cherries, you know, and for the rest of the game they are on you, right? You know, every action they take. And here's the really interesting thing to me about the vendetta player. They are going to lose the game and probably come in last because for the remainder of the game, they won't take an action that would benefit their situation. It's how can I attack there, you know? And
I find those people can be exploited.
Yeah, you can sucker them.
Singularly focused.
Yeah, you can sucker them, right? So, you know, that one to me is a little irritating. You know, understand that you're occasionally going to get attacked or somebody's going to take your apple. You know, don't torpedo your whole game. You know, we play a 5-hour game of something, and you know they were out in the first 30 minutes because they decided on a vendetta straight away. You know, weird one to me.
Mine kind of ties into Chip's, but I put, you know, don't quit the game.
Yeah.
Either walking out
or
even emotionally just giving up. If you start the game, finish it. You know, so it went into what you were saying. If they're not doing well, they don't understand, you know, what they're supposed to be doing, or they don't like the theme. You know, be there for your group. Finish it. Enjoy it for just spending time with us, if nothing else.
Yeah.
You know, so.
That sort of ties into one of my good behaviors. I wrote, let the game exist within the game space.
Right.
And then, you know, that plays into, you know, play to the best of your ability. You know, play within the spirit of the rules. Okay. So, I mean, you know, if you're playing a cutthroat game, be cutthroat. It's the spirit of the rule, you know, and don't be mad when other people are cutthroat. Right. And then don't hold the grudge, right? Don't let it carry over into other games.
Right.
You know, that's very bad form. But but one of my bad ones, and this I said no particular order. This is probably my biggest pet peeve. If your game has dice, and it has a board, and that board has pieces, those dice do not need to be anywhere near that board and those pieces. And if you can't handle that, if you're not adult enough on a 4-foot by 6-foot gaming table to take dice and roll right over here in this little area, I've made the dogs mad. 2 feet away from the board, and you sling them dice across and knock pieces all over the place. I want to throw you through a window. I mean, you drive me crazy. Go get a dice cup or go get a dice tower and use it if you can't handle that. All right, now I'm clear.
Because of his fit, we'll be right back. And we're back. So I'm going to continue this, you know, on the bad ones here. And we brought up cooperative games earlier, and they breed this type of gamer. We've all played with them, and it's the alpha gamer. Look, I get it. We all think that our strategy and our way of thinking is the only one that could possibly be right. I understand that. But it's still his turn. Sit down, shut up, and let them take their turn. Little discussion is okay because it's a cooperative game, but at the end of the day, you know, don't get all huffy because they want to take their actions. You know, let them play their game.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like if I prompt you for advice, that's cool,
right?
But yeah, man, just don't hover over me or don't just lead off my turn with your advice. Right.
Right.
Let us play together.
I had another bad form, and it's I called it politics. Basically, we're playing a game, and you know, during AP when you're waiting for your turn again, it is okay to talk to everyone else about, you know, politics, sports, you know, all that side conversations aside. That's fine. But when playing the game has to stop for 20 minutes because of a rant about politics, religion, whatever the case may be, that frustrates me so bad.
She gives me the look.
Because, it's like, because it's 2 players away before it ever comes back to me, but they're deep in discussion over something that, I get it. You want to vent, but wait. Just wait.
I'm guilty of it, but yeah, it drives me nuts too.
Right.
Yep. My last one was now. So AP aside, there's nothing wrong with after a 3-minute pause asking, whose turn is it? And sometimes you find out it's yours, but
sometimes you get lost.
Yeah. But there are players who rush others as a tactic.
Yeah.
So, and I really don't like that. That's why I don't do a lot of the competitive Magic anymore, is because it got real bad in that scene. But people use, they act frustrated and they try to rush you in hopes that you'll fumble, right? And I'm like, that's not a tactic. If we're having a contest here, that's not the way to go. So rushing other people as a tactic is a big pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, so I'll ease us towards the good, because this is probably the lightest of my bad ones, but it drives me crazy. We'll play a game, and it's even worse. When I play review copies with the group, I genuinely want to see what everybody thought about it, because, we all have different tastes, and I want to see, this guy likes, Amerithrash type games, and he liked this Euro. Why, right? I'm really interested in that sort of thing, right? So when I get the lame-o answers to, so what'd you guys think? And opinions are free. Spit some out. You didn't have a problem a minute ago. So that one just it drives me crazy. Like I said, it's probably the minor one on my list. But lame-o answers to what did you think of that game? So let's talk about some good things here. I'll start with one that I really like, and I wrote down equitable disagreement resolution. We all come to a point in games where I've interpreted this rule one way and you've interpreted it the other, and I really like it when the other player's like, well, let's just roll a dice. High dice, we go with their interpretation. Keeps the game moving. It's an equitable solution for both, because you're never going to agree. So I really like that. Some way of, equitably resolving disagreements. I enjoy that.
I think we thank Games Workshop for that. I think that's where we first got into the, if players disagree, roll the dice. So, yeah, that's good. Along with the whole rushing as a tactic, the other side of that coin is, for a good behavior, I think, pace your play so that everybody at the table can follow what you're doing. Don't rush your own play as a way to, maybe throw somebody off, or maybe they don't see me make this move over here. If the game is not set up to have hidden information, if it's all supposed to be open information, make sure your gameplay allows players, unless they're just being completely oblivious, but if they're trying to follow the game, they should be able to follow your move and see what you're doing.
Wow, those are serious, kudo type things. Mine, first one is bring snacks.
Yes.
Especially, if you know what the hostess really likes, definitely bring snacks. But there's been gaming sessions where I've cooked a supper.
Yeah.
And we all had enchiladas and stuff.
And we enjoy that. We love you for it.
Thank you. But, bring some Dr. Peppers, because everyone's going to be, eating and drinking and snacking, and it kind of helps carry on, so no one's stopping to make a run to a restaurant or something to grab something. So just bring
that was kind of my second one, was respect the host's domain. Make sure you're not tearing their stuff up, and bring food and drink.
Yeah, and I also wrote on the food thing. You can tell we like that. Be mindful of it. I've seen folks, this happens a lot at conventions, with their burrito, lean completely over the table and taking their turn with, the burrito, which at any given moment, a burrito's desire is to explode.
Yes.
So, but our group is really good about it. They bring food, and that's fine, and we've got these little tables around the table, and they'll put one by themselves and make sure they keep it off. So, if you're going to do that, just, be mindful, because these things aren't free, right? So be mindful of your food and drink. We learned this one, my next one, the hard way with Viceroy. And we've gotten so much better at it since then. And when you're teaching a game, tell them how to win.
Oh yes.
During the explanation of how you play, because we got to the end of that one, we were like, okay, so let's go through victory points, and none of us were anywhere near prepared for that, right? So
No, not bad.
I think I just think it's a good way to start, right? This is how you play the game, and this is what you got to do to win, or how you get points, or whatever. That way they have that in mind as they play. So I think that's a really good behavior.
One of my other ones is be flexible. What I mean by that is be flexible on what game we play. We have a ton of them and a ton more on the shelf of shame. So, coming in, I go by the majority rules. If a lot of people want to play X, then okay, then let's do it. Because the experience of just being able to sit down and play a game with my friends is so much better than, well, I'm going to be moody because it wasn't the game I wanted, right? So be flexible, let majority rule.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's the gathering that makes the difference. I mean, we'll get to a game I want to play. It's not a big deal.
Do you have any other good ones?
No, you got mine with bring snacks. So
oh, okay.
That cleared my list.
I did have one more.
You
Do
did?
you have any more?
Yeah, I have one more, and then I'll let you close us
Okay.
out. This kind of fits in with their AP discussion. Be ready for your turn. I know that we all have, I can't stand up and show it to you because my lavalier cable would get upset, but we all have phones and devices and things. And, some of these games, it's going to be a minute before it's your turn again, so pick it up, check your email real quick or whatever, but stay in the game enough so that you're ready to play when it's your turn. I guess this ties into her, crazy ongoing conversation thing. But, I think that's good behavior because it just keeps things moving.
Phones at the table is like a deep philosophical issue in the world of board gaming right now. I mean, there's some people that will throw you out of their house if you pick that phone
up. My last kudos would be share the hate. What I mean by that is some of these games have take with or take that, right? So don't. Well, I'm going to get you, and I'm going to get you again and again and again. Share the hate. If it's going to be a take that, then, I'll take you, and then we'll get you, and then we'll get you. And that's just a personal thing for me. Probably because if we had to choose from the bad, okay, which one do I represent? I bet you it's the Vendetta player.
Well, the Vendetta guy doesn't share the hate. Right.
Yeah, I don't.
You upset his apple cart, so he's on you.
Well, and as just as a tactic, just as a tactic hint is you should probably look for the player that's doing the best and apply the hate to them.
Right.
And if you happen to be the player that's doing the best, find the one that's doing second best and try to kick them down even more, okay? If you're just mad at the guy who literally has 4 points when the leader has 370, you're not doing that right, okay?
I try to babyface it, right? I'll be like, I got you last time, so I'll get him over here. That way they're like, well, he's not
so bad.
He's not so bad, right? He's, he's got to do this thing. He's not, so just that's a little game that you can play. So, all right, so that is our roundtable discussion on gamer etiquette for June 2017.
Play nice. Now we've come once again to our bad board game description challenge. Now this is not a description of a bad board game per se, but it is a bad description of a board game. This month is going to be quick and easy. And if you know the answer, be the first one to comment down below. If you have a BGG account, we'll get in touch with you and I'll send 100 Geek Gold your way. This month's bad board game description challenge, Tetris quilting. And if you know the answer to that, give us a comment down below. If you're the first one, I'll send 100 Geek Gold your way on Board Game Geek.
There you go.
All right. Thank you for joining us for another Roll to Hit Gaming Monthly. If you're interested in daily content, I'll put a link in the description to our blog. Brandon does a great job over there. Until next month, for Roll to Hit Gaming, I'm Lucas.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Chip. Don't forget to subscribe.